So today we're going to be working on a differential, rear differential on a 2008 Ford F-250. And this is everything you need to change it. I might add a tool in here or there. If I do, I'll let you guys know. But as of right now, this is basically everything you're going to need. So what you're going to need to start off with is 75 W140 synthetic rear axle lubricant. This truck takes 4 quarts. You need to have 1 friction modifier additive. We have all Motorcraft. We actually went to the Ford dealer and got this fluid. You need Motorcraft or some sort of silicone sealant gasket maker, something like that. On this truck it is a 12-hole gasket. We're going to use a gasket just because I don't want to just use the sealant. I want to use a gasket, so we're going to use a gasket on this one. Lots of flashlights. Both of these are 3/8 drive. This one is a snap-on flex, but you can flex it there, or if you do it over here, it locks into place. I'm going to use that one, and then also just a regular old Pittsburgh. This one's a little longer of an extension, but a couple extensions just in case. I'm going to use those. There's some of the top bolts on the differential that are kind of hard to get to, so we're going to use those to maybe get to them a little easier. I've also got a semi-deep snap-on 13 millimeter, and then I've got a shallow 13 as well. So on this truck there are 13 millimeter bolts, but that is basically everything that you're going to need to change the differential fluid and also put a gasket on this. So now we'll head over to the truck and we'll set the jack stands underneath of it, get it jacked up, slide the pan underneath of it, and we'll start taking the bolts off. Alright, so the first thing that I did was I dropped the spare tire. It just gives you a little easier access over to the differential. You don't have to drop it, but I did. It just makes it a little easier. Got the cord up out of the way. I got my Mac hood light down here to kind of shine some more light. And then I'll get a couple little lights that you saw before in the video, and we'll just to shine a little more to get me a little more light. So I've got it jacked up. I've got it on 2 jack stands, and then I've got my pan and my oil catcher basically underneath the differential, so when I take those bolts off and pry it out a little bit, it'll fall into there. Keep cardboard underneath of it. You do not want this stuff to get on the concrete. It smells horrible and will stain the concrete. You can try to put some floor dry on it, it'll work some, but I don't know if you'll ever get it completely out. But so that's our setup. We'll get working, we'll pull the bolts, and then we'll drain it, and then we'll pull the old gasket off, and we'll go through all that. So that's kind of the first stuff that I did to get prepped. So now we're gonna grab the 13 millimeter and run around and take those bolts out. Sorry guys, some of the noise in this video is coming from my heater, but it's February in Ohio. What are you gonna do? Alright, so now we're gonna pry up on this and start getting some of the fluid to run out. There it comes. That's why I'm using a Harbor Freight. Definitely had a good seal. Alright, so we're going to let the truck drain, and what we're going to do now is clean out all the oil, old oil that's inside of there, and then we're gonna scrape some of the gasket that's still on here. We'll scrape some of that off to get it off, clean it up, wipe it down, put some new gasket maker on the outside, put our gasket on, put some more on the outside, and then we'll put it back on the truck. But we're gonna let the truck drain out for a little bit. We'll go up underneath there, check the splines and where the gears actually run inside of each other, the teeth, and then we'll make sure nothing is wrong there. We haven't been hearing any noise, so I'm not expecting there to be something wrong. We're just doing this as kind of preventative maintenance and maintenance on the trucks, because we haul trailers, we run a landscaping company, we push snow, so our trucks get work, so we're just trying to keep them in the best shape that we possibly can. But let's get this cleaned up and then we'll pop it back on the truck. Alright, so I got as much of the gasket stuff cleaned off as I could. Got the inside kind of wiped down. You'll notice there might be some metal flakes inside of there. As long as they're not huge and there's not a ton of them, that's not really a huge deal, but you will notice some of them are in there. So what I'm going to do for this is I'm going to run a bead of that gasket maker around the outside, and then I'm going to set on the gasket, and then I'm going to run another bead on the outside, just so that way I have a bead on both sides for when I bolt it in, so that way it'll spread out a little more even. Alright, so once you got all your gasket stuff on there, put your 12 bolts back in. I try to keep them in the same spot. It's not a huge deal if they're not. They all get mixed up. They're all the same. It doesn't really matter. But one thing that you want to see is around the edges, some of the gasket coming out of it, just so that way you know you have a good seal all the way from the front to the back. If it's starting to push out, that's good. Don't worry about it. Just make sure you kind of snug your bolts down to figure out what they are, and then we'll come back and torque them. So now I'm going to torque these to 30 foot-pounds. So what you want to do is torque them down. You want to start going side to side, kind of like you're doing a tire, and then go all the way around it. So start across, kind of like you would do a tire, work all the way around it, and then once they're all torqued down, you can go ahead and start filling it. Alright, so right there is the fill spout for this. You can take a 3/8 extension or just the square end of the ratchet, and you can just put it in, and then you twist it out just like a nut, and I'll show you that here. That'll be a little hard with my phone. I don't know if I'll be able to. There it goes. So it just twists out. It just twists out like that. There is a magnet on the bottom of this. You want to clean it off, but that is where you put all of your differential fluid, the additive, all of that goes right into there. And you know it's full when you put your truck level and then you start filling it up. And then once it starts to run out of these threads, you know it's full. So I'm not really going to show you guys me filling it, but I will show you one trick that I use that I know I can get enough additive in there, because really that bottle that you have, you want to try to use every drop of it that's possible in there. So Alright, so that's the additive, and this is the oil. What I'll do is I'll take a bottle when I've already put a quart in the truck first. Put a quart in the truck first. And then I'll take this, I'll squeeze all of it out that I can into the differential. And then I'll take some oil, pour the oil into this bottle, and I'll do it 2, 3, maybe 4 times, just so I know that that's mixing in there and getting as much of that into the truck. Once your fluid runs out and you have everything checked, that's how you change the differential fluid in a 2008 Ford F-250. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, subscribe to the channel for more just like it.